I will never forget the day that I decided to jump from Nikon over to Canon. I was in my office looking out the window as a man who bought my Nikon D850, or, actually that might have been the Z7. Either way, driving down the street and out of sight. I was torn. I loved that camera, but clearly Canon had an early edge in developing mirrorless cameras and lenses. Fast forward to today, and I'm a diehard Canon enthusiast. Now, I don't want to take anything away from Nikon because they make some really good stuff, but I made the right decision for me, my shooting, or what I need out of a camera rather, and despite how sad it made me feel at the time. Anyways, why I'm sharing these insights in my emotional decision to turn to Canon? Well, to set the stage for a all-Canon episode. That's right, folks. Today's edition of Photography Talk is all Canon, all the time. And since time is running out of 2023, let's quit the jibber-jabbering and dive head first into the headlines. Any experienced photographer will tell you that it's not the plane, it's the pilot. No. Wrong reference. It's not the gear, it's the photographer. There we go. That's it. But having great gear doesn't hurt, which is why Canon users like myself are so excited about the prospect of a new high-end 35mm RF lens potentially coming into the market in 2024. Now, as you know right now, the only 35mm lens available in the RF ecosystem is the 1.8 macro IS STM. Now, it's a perfectly fine lens, but it isn't exactly professional grade option either. Now, recent rumors suggest that this existing 35mm lens will get a L series cousin soon enough. Now, though reportedly the new RF 35mm lens will have a 1.2 aperture like the RF 85mm L series that is currently available. Now, unfortunately, that's the only tidbit information that we have at this point. Now, what I will say is this. Now, so far, Canon has really crushed it out of the park with the RF versions of its EF lenses. And my guess is that the RF 35mm f1.2L will continue that tradition. Now, the EF 35mm 1.4L, man, that was an incredible lens. And think about this, with the new technology, larger aperture, the 35mm f1.2L is sure to be quite an impressive lens. Now, if you're into tilt shift photography, hold on to your hats. A recent patent filing from Canon reveals a completely new approach to tilt shift photography. Now, you may be asking what's so special about this lens is that it automates the process of adjusting the tilt and shift movements. Now, usually tilt shift lenses require the photographer to make different precise manual adjustments. So this isn't exactly a beginner-friendly pursuit. Heck, even veteran photographers struggle with it as well. But that could all change if Canon ends up producing this new lens. Now, the patent notes that this lens technology allows you to quickly adjust tilt, shift, and revolving mounts without manual adjustments. Now, the result is a much easier workflow that makes tilt shift photography far more accessible to a wider range of photographers. Now, how Canon intends to make this work is pretty straightforward as well. Now, the lens will use actuators to control its movement, which in turn is going to allow the photographer to take a series of images with different degrees of tilt, shift, and rotation. Now, the result is an image that makes a natural looking scene miniaturized, though you can use the lens still to create kind of those traditional looking images of architecture, landscapes, and portraits. There are far more complex and scientific explanations we can get into, but rather than me mudding through all of that, let's just end it with this. Canon has shown a desire to greatly expand the RF lineup of lenses, and if this new tilt shift lens comes to fruition, it can mark a significant shift, pardon the pun, in how these types of photos are created. Pretty exciting stuff. All right, let's keep it in the family and discuss yet another news item relating to Canon. Now, the EOS R3 is an impressive to say the least. Now, when it came out back in November of 2021, it was met with a ton of fanfare because it represented the most flagship camera in the EOS R family today. It still is. It's a knockout. Well, more than 2 years later, it still is a flagship camera, but that will change when the EOS R1 is released, so should be here in the next handful of months. Anyways, Canon has always said that the R3 isn't its mirrorless flagship camera, so when the R1 finally does come out, what does that mean for the R3? Now, rumors indicate that the R3 will get a refresh about a year after the R1 does come out. Now, the refresh, which will be called, or let's just call it the R3 Mark II, should occur in 2025. Now, with the R1 above it and the EOS R5 Mark II, that should have a new release in 2024 below it. That leaves a pretty tight spot for the R3 Mark II to fit in. Now, the current R3 model is undoubtedly meant for photojournalism and action photography like sports. Now, it's safe to assume that the Mark II version will offer more of the same. However, here's where things get a little interesting. Canon has to be careful here. The R1 and the R3 II need to be different enough from one another to warrant having them both in the family. Now remember, Canon's DSLR lineup didn't include a 3 model, so in between the 5D and the 1D line. So this could be interesting to see how Canon makes the R5, the R3, and the R1 cameras unique enough for them all to coexist here. Now, of course, a lot can change in the oncoming months. So once the R1 is released, we're going to get a better idea of what the R3 Mark II might be. Well, friends, that is all for me. Before I go signing off one last time here in 2023, hey, as always, thank you for being the best part of the Photography Talk community. If you haven't already, be sure to hit the bell so you can get notifications and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a single exciting piece of content that we have planned in the New Year's. Well, until next time, enjoy the holiday, be safe, and get out there and take your best shot.